About the same exact time. And he was also at Nest with me, so he was at the very first meeting of Nest when we had it back in the day. So
after Tony and I worked together at a personal communicator company that was a spin-off of Apple called General Magic for several years, Tony went off and started a group at Philips and built some of the most innovative organizer information handheld processors of their day that influenced a lot of the stuff that came later. And then you started a couple companies, a lot about music. To Tony's, you're pretty keen on music in general, and about making music accessible to a lot of people. And Steve invited you to come to Apple to build a music player that put 10,000 songs in people's pocket.
1,000 songs.
1,000 first.
1,000 first.
Yeah.
Now it's infinite.
Yeah, that's right. And they're not really in your pocket all the time. I still have one of the ones with 1,000 songs.
When I gave it to you.
Yes, that's right. Just before release. And
while I was doing that, he was at Web TV, the very first web browser on a TV that Microsoft bought. So we've known hardware, software, and web stuff since 1995.
A long time.
The company that we worked at, General Magic, got creamed by the web, so we got killed. $1 billion of investment dead. It was making the iPhone just 15 years too early. And then luckily I got to go.
Yeah, timing. Timing's really important. Like building the iPhone at the right time has apparently been a bit of a success. And you guys are, you are. It's obvious from the wannabe companies that think they're doing what you're doing, but you guys are at this incredible time for what your business is. And timing is really important because you can be making great stuff, but if you're too early, it's never going to work out. And if you're too late, it doesn't matter. Like someone's already figured that out.
Yes.
But this is a magic moment. I think it's one of the reasons that it's not just us who are excited about you, but other investors, other people. I was just at a party in Paris a couple of days ago. They said, "Oh, 3D hubs, man, that's completely changing how we're going to do manufacturing." So that timing, you didn't control it. You kind of chose it, but it's a great thing to have.
So, first I want to just say we are very happy investors. We're very, very happy. We're really happy about what's going to happen this week. So I don't want to start having a big celebration yet, but it's going to happen, I think, this week. We're not going anywhere. We're ready to push the electronic wire transfer button.
You can't leave until the deal's done.
Oh, I can't leave now. That's why you
can sleep on the couch.
But no, literally, that's just because of the hard work and how amazingly fast you are when you find an issue. You pivot or you tackle it. The biggest thing that when I heard through the financing as well as even this financing was people go, well, they're not doing this or they're not doing that, or yeah, 3D hubs is kind of interesting, but I kept hearing all these buts, and then I would tell Bram, and he would go, oh, we got that next week, and then oh, we have that other thing next week, and literally bam, bam, bam. And then you guys pivoted. We had a good discussion about this B2B versus B2C hub thing, all this stuff. And we went through all of it. I'm like, you got a tough decision. You're either going here and we'll help you here, or you're gonna go here. And I never heard what happened in the decision, whether you guys are gonna go B2B or stay B2C. And literally, I think it was 10 to 12 weeks later, Bram goes, yeah, we're going to get done with that pivot soon. I'm like, well, you got like 4 more months, 6 more. And they're like, no, next week. I was like, what? So that's, obviously it takes great vision and great decision making and great leadership to do that. But it takes all of your hard work and skills to actually all get together and go, we're going this way now, right? And you guys have done a tremendous job at that. So hats off to all of you for that. Without that, this round would have been very different than it is now. And so very proud of all you guys and what you've done. So we'll leave it at that. And
first question,
let's go.
All right, so first introduction question. So I think everybody's dying to know, how did you find out about 3D hubs and come to the decision to invest?
Let's see, how did I hear about it? That's a great question.
I think Berthier last.
Oh yeah, Berthier. Berthier
Yeah.
told me and said, "Hey, there's this company, right?" He wasn't doing Techstars yet or anything at that point. And I said, "That sounds really interesting."
And you were in Paris?
Yeah, we had already just moved to Paris. We had just moved to Paris, right? Yeah, 3 years ago. So yeah, and then I was like, okay, and then you came over to Paris. We met.
Yep.
We had discussion. I looked through everything, and then it was, we're pretty fast and lightweight. We don't have LPs. We don't have a huge partnership. We don't have a long process, and we just did it, right? So it was like that, because I had gone through, and it's in the foreword as well in the book, but I had experienced so much about the difficulties of manufacturing and doing short runs and having to do soft tooling and all of these different things to make the things that I like to make, or the teams that we worked with had needed it. And so I saw instantly what you guys were trying to do, and I was like, yeah, I'm in. So it was like that. It was that fast.
And as an investor, of course, you have a somewhat long-term vision. What does success look like for you? Like 3D Hub success in like the most positive scenario could be 5-10 years out.
Well, we only invest in long term. So all of our stuff is, again, we don't have LPs. So our horizons, our investment horizons could be 7, 10, 12-year kind of things. The way we look at it is we want to work with really great teams who are doing something very hard to help them, not just with money. Anyone can give money anywhere if you have a good enough idea, but to really help with our network and all of our operational skills, all this stuff. So that's what we do, is these long-term investments. So for me, when I look at you guys, the fact that you were able to do the pivot and you're still growing and you're growing faster than ever, to me, I'm always pushing, right? I'm always like, what about this? What about this? When are we going to have more software tools for that? How are we covering logistics? How are we covering part financing? At one day, we're going to probably do part financing, I would think. I hope we get in financial services, because I think it'd be very smart. You heard that here first. So you're going to hear that more and more, but maybe not this year, but next year maybe.
Maybe with the Future Shape Fund.
Future Shape Fund. I'm doing it with a couple other companies that we've
really?
invested in, so we're looking for it. But seriously, this can be much bigger. If you think about all the small and medium-sized businesses out there who can't have direct relationships with many suppliers, right? Like, big, and even the big ones, they have small teams who don't get any access to the purchasing departments, or really they have to they're almost startups inside of these big companies, or they're red tape with all the big, they just want to get something done fast. This is the way to get it done. And once you've sold them, they just keep coming back, because it's freedom, it's flexibility, it's changing up the design. As designers, we always want to have to iterate very, very quickly. So I think you are just getting started for where you could really be, and adding all those different verticals, especially in this asset-light model, right? In this asset-light model, you can do so many more things. I'm hopeful, and I've been pushing you guys on this too, is we have invested in many of the best 3D printer companies in the world, like the most, or we know them who are running them, and we're like, why aren't they premiered on 3D Hubs first? In other words, you might want to buy this machine, but you can try it here. And we work in a co-marketing relationship with each of these 3D printers and say, it's first here, go give it a try for 3 months or whatever it is. And we showcase their machines, so you can try different materials for that matter, right? Or secondary ops, or these kinds of things. So this is the kind of thing that I hope we're going to continue to expand, because the more we are the experts to educate these people and designers and engineers, give them superpowers that they never had before, and you make them look like rock stars, the more they're going to keep coming back over and over and over. Our job is to make these designers and engineers look like rock stars to their management, to their customers, whoever they are. And the more we do that and give them capabilities they never had before. So our job is to bring more and more interesting and capabilities that the world's never seen, and that means, we were talking with, Carbon, I know the Carbon guys, we know the guys at Desktop Metal, I'm an investor in that. Like a couple of these different ones, we can bring it on right away. Nanocore, I told you about Nanocore. Yep. We can do hard tooling in 24 hours. We can do full hard tools in 24 hours. How does that change what you guys do, right? So these are the kind of things that I hope we're going to be able to bring in. Now that we have this great platform, we understand how it goes, but we need to add all of these other capabilities so that we give superpowers to these people. So hopefully,
Nice.
and then
Yeah.
it just grows from there. So focus on the customer, focus on giving them superpowers, and the sky's the limit. Really, what it is, we make sure we do it properly operationally with the right quality. So
Cool. All right, next question. So we're gonna mix a bit between questions we come up with and team questions. So the next question is coming from Ben. And it's kind of a personal question about, well, I'm not gonna spoil it.
Right at the back here. Yep. First of all, Tony is one of the authors of the book. Thank you very much for your contribution. I don't know if people,
thank you for authoring it. It's awesome.
I don't know if people appreciate how valuable it was actually having your name on the front cover. So I think that's it was a huge game changer.
Well, where's my royalty check?
Where's mine? Yeah, so my question's around productivity, and you were saying one thing you really like about us is we're very agile and we do things very quickly, and a key part of that is remaining productive. So what's your top productivity tip? Like, are you a person who blocks time for certain things? Do you work off to-do lists? What's worked well for you?
Okay.
Yeah, and how do you kind of structure your day to make sure you remain productive? Because in an agile environment like this, where we're always coming up with ideas, a key part of that is how we prioritize and how we actually structure what we tackle.
Right. So, well, the first thing is you got to be healthy. You got to be mentally and physically healthy. So that means don't be working 120 hours a week. I know these guys will go, no, don't say that. But I'll tell you that right now. You can't do that. You're going to kill yourselves. It'll only last for a
10
quarter,
hours.
and then you'll be dead. So you got to stay healthy and do what you need to do with that. But put that aside, assuming you're doing that right. Then what I do is I engineer my calendar. I literally engineer my weekly or my every 2-week calendar as well as every 2-month calendar. So I block out the time where I'm working, the time where I'm meeting. Now, not all of you can do all that, but the time where I'm like thinking, right? And so I actually have time to process and do stuff. And I'm maybe not always in the office doing it because I have to go and focus on something. So don't be a victim of your calendar. Unless there's an extreme, like, panic situation or something. But try to engineer your calendar as much as possible so you can have time to think and do, not just do. Because if you're always doing, you're not going to be effective at actually the next stage. You're just going to start being a hamster on a wheel. And then it's not going to be very good for all the problems that each of you see. You're not reporting them back, and you can't all work on them together to be nimble and fix problems as soon as they happen. Because you might see the problem, but you may not be empowered to be able to fix it. Somebody else does. So you got to make sure you have a good balance. Sometimes you have to slow down to speed up. Okay? And engineer your calendar. That's what I normally do.
For your think time, do you try and go into a different environment, or like that's quite a different mindset to just tackling your operational tasks?
I try to, for me, my best ideas or the best time when problems get solved is when I'm doing my meditation or moving meditation. So literally I'm on a bike, no electronics. I'm running, no electronics. I guess this is the iPod guy telling you this. Don't get distracted with electronics. There's got to have some time where you're just thinking without any distractions. And when I'm running, I just sit there and you just go, and like all of a sudden these, especially on a bike, like 3 hours, and I'm thinking about something, and before you know it, boom, because I'm so concentrated on making sure I don't run into something on my bike or who knows what, then all of a sudden, boom, it comes out because you're not.
Subconscious.
Yeah, it subconsciously just comes out. So, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Because it's very easy to be sitting in front of a computer, and then all of a sudden the next notification comes up, and the next blah, blah, blah. And you can't get that steady, just checkout time for things to come back to you. So, you got to have a blend of analog and digital, if you know what I mean.
All right, we move on to company culture. We already spoke a little bit about how it's going to break.
I'll let David start. I'll let David give you the bad news, and then I'll give you the worst news.
So you guys you're around 70. You're going to grow quickly, and around 100 to 120, things are going to get awkward. And this is not your fault. This is how humans are. The anthropologists say that when a village or a military unit or a company gets to about 110, 100-ish people, they suddenly need some kind of police officer, someone to resolve conflicts. It's why the Romans had a century, which was 120 soldiers. It's why villages end up with a leader at around 100 people. And both of us have seen this again and again. We've been through multiple companies that have grown from nothing, from one person's or two people's ideas to through 100 people to thousands. And it doesn't have to be awful, but it will be a little bit different. And my suggestion is the more you communicate and the more you're comfortable with just going up to the person whose name you don't know, because about 100 people, you probably won't know everyone's name, the easier it will be to get through that transition. Your management is going to probably change some processes too. The way meetings work, when things are scheduled.
What you know and what you don't know. You're not going to know everything.
You won't know everything, and it's okay. Don't freak out. And if you're in a good place and you're respectful to your colleagues, even the ones you haven't met before, even the new ones who weren't there from when you were 10 or when you were 50, you'll get through it and into a really exciting stage. Right? And I think like the next 3 years for you guys is going to be super exciting, and you'll be at hundreds of people at that point.
So, you've already gone through 2 transitions. Some of you, not all of you. Companies break at 7 to 8 people. They break again at 30 to 40, 45 people. They break at 100 to 120. And then after that, they're going to break about 250 to 350 people. Then after that's about 1,000, and then, then it's just a whole different story. So, you've already gone through 2 of them. You've survived. Everyone's still smiling and having a great time. And you've even pivoted when you were big, too. So that's all good. The next one is going to be hard. It really is. It is the hardest one of all the transitions, even 250 or whatever. So the biggest thing to do is to start talking about designing it now. That means for the management and managers. Also, the thing is, people go, oh my God, we're going to hire more managers. We're going to hire all these things. And who am I going to be working for? What's going to happen? The first thing you should know, and I'm going to teach, this is what all of you should be talking to your managers about if you are, or if you are a manager, you should listen to this too. What is going to happen, what you should do, is you should be part of the conversation. This company is going to have probably 500 people in 2 or 3 years. I don't know when, but maybe 4. You are in charge of your career. You should have a career discussions at a normal period with your manager and say, what is it you really want to do? Design what the world looks like for yourselves when it's a bigger team. Think of it as a positive, right? Not a negative. Yes, it may not be as intimate anymore, but you can retain a lot of the intimacy and also the personal pleasure, because each of you are going to start getting a little bit narrow in what you do, right? It's just how it works. Everyone's going to have to find more of their lane they're in. They can't just be generalists roaming around like they were when it was much smaller and everybody's fighting fire. So you're going to have to start thinking about what your career is. Do you really want to be a manager? Do you really want to be this? Or do you want to be a great individual contributor? You should think about that. And I'll tell you right now, most people, 80% of the people who tell me they want to be in management usually don't. They hate it. They just think that they need to be in it. So what we normally do is we normally go, oh, you want to be manager? How about we temporarily give you that job for 8 weeks? Assuming everything, right? We'll temporarily give it. Come back to me in 8 weeks and tell me if you liked it. And most of them go, I don't want anything to do with it. But what happens is if you don't give that kind of opportunity to people, what happens is they go, I was never able to be manager. I'm pissed off. Blah, 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 blah. If you give it to them for a little while and they go, I don't like it, well, then we all know. And then it's never a discussion and we've moved on. But if somebody, what's great about it is you have so much history and knowledge together that it's best to hire and promote from inside the team. So when we need more managers, we try to find those people who love it, who love to be a manager or want to be a manager to the next level, whatever it is. You just got to be in charge of your career and don't think you're a victim of growth. Be in charge of the growth and help and have a conversation. When you're part of the solution, it's much better than trying to act like a victim, and it's just not going to work out that way. So hopefully that's, if you want, I can answer more questions around that. But literally, it's for you to create and keep the culture you have and design your career around it. Don't be scared, but make sure you do it thoughtfully and you think about each step and how you're going to do your communications, how you're going to keep your culture, those kinds of things, especially as you have remote offices and all that stuff. It can be engineered. It won't be perfect, like any organization, but it'll be a lot better and it won't be as scary if you're part of the conversation and think about what's the best for the company and as well as what's going to be good for you. All right?
Nice. Another question on culture. Looking back at other companies you guys have worked, is there any particular aspect of company culture that, if you could implant it with the press of a button, you would try and bring over to 3D Hubs, or recommend that we try and kind of foster?
So the important one, and I think you guys probably all know this, is hiring is important, and bringing on people who are jerks is damaging. And so if you're worried about someone who's coming on, speak up during the hiring process. Because if you're worried at that point, remember, it's like a date, right? You have a date with someone, and what you have to do is you kind of like multiply their weak points by 10, and then reduce their great points to maybe 1/2. And then you know if you're going to be in love with that person and spend the rest of your life with them. And so the hiring process is a little bit like that, where you have to really lower your expectations and then feel good about the person after.
But
No.
So let's put it this way. You will make hiring mistakes. You will hire assholes. Just get rid of them fast. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is you're going to get bigger. People are going to go, in customer support or sales, whatever, and they're going to hire someone. Well, guess what? The way that we always made the team stick together and do things was there was a hiring manager, whoever the hiring manager was, you're right, they were going to make the decision for the most part. The executives could overrule it if it was a really ugly thing. But what we would normally do is anybody who is a client of our services, whoever that is, business, operations, whoever the right thing is, we would make sure that they would designate one person or two people from each of the teams to hire who is going to work with that person, to interview that person. So it's not like we're creating these tribes of like, we hired them, I didn't like that person. So that these different clients who are going to work with that person inside the company help to be the interviewing team. They say, that wasn't so good, or that was so good. See if they're going to really be easier to interact with. And then they can state their issues that they have about that candidate, or they really love that person, whatever the case may be. Or they may even have a suggestion for somebody to hire, for that matter. So that they're part of the decision-making process. It's really up to the hiring manager to make the offer. It shouldn't be a group decision, but it should be group insights and input so that you can make a better decision. And therefore, when that hiring manager says yes, they know what those issues are, and they can work with them to mentor them past those issues. Or they can say, no, I don't want to hire that person. And so it just helps with a more team dynamic and make sure everybody's working together and there doesn't become these silos of different departments. I don't want to work with that person anymore, or whatever. Make sure you're part of helping to build and keep the culture together and everybody working together. The other thing is, we would always do, usually teams would go out and have a beer or whatever. I know you guys have your Fridays, but maybe you have some other events. Mm-hmm. Like each team goes out for something. As you get bigger, you're going to want to have a small team. I would never allow anyone to use any corporate funds for any kinds of beer or bar or any kind of fun stuff unless they brought one other team with them. And they had to change it up. So it was always a 2-team party, not a 1-team party. So that you got together, you get to know each other, and then the next time, you take another team. You can't go with the same team every time either. It can't be the same, like, okay, we're going to gang up on that. No. Sales goes with engineering goes with HR, but whatever the case may be. So that it's having more and more bonding time. Because as these big group events, like these Fridays that you have, beer bashes, whatever they are, get bigger, you're going to all regress to your little teams because you're not going to know everybody. So you got to figure out ways of mixing people, okay? And that's another thing that we would normally do is I would never pay unless it was going to be a true team building event. Not your team, the company team. Okay.
Cool. Let's move on to manufacturing. Philemon has a good question.
Yeah, I know it.
Your question.
It's a hard question. Now, based on your experience in manufacturing, clearly, I'm curious. Like, if you can tell a bit about your ideas, also based on what you know in other companies you speak with, your vision for manufacturing, and specifically the role you see for 3D hubs in this future development and where the industry is moving.
Well, in general, people want things faster. They want faster turnaround time. They want it efficient. They want to be able to use all the most advanced manufacturing techniques. If they're great engineers or not, they want to use the most advanced, regardless if they're, Mercedes-Benz or whether they're, a startup in a garage. So if you treat everybody like that, then that's a great thing. So if you can give all of those capabilities and more to those individuals, whether they're in a big or small thing, and without the red tape, make it really easy. I don't know if you have to, what do you have to do for your corporates and everything, but the future of manufacturing is going smaller and smaller, faster runs, mass customization, mass personalization. That's where we're headed. So, and lots of novel materials. I don't know what you're going to need to do from a ISO perspective with each of your suppliers, if you're going to ever supply medical or certain military or aeronautics kinds of things. You're going to have to worry about more specialization in each of those, where there's going to be higher value parts as well as clients. So and small firms are starting to work on those things. So you need to start specializing. Now that you've made it flexible and fast for a lot of people, you're going to have to start specialization into these more specific types of materials or parts you're going to be helping them to manufacture. So I would start to, the more you can think about them and think about what their needs are, as well as their purchasing needs, make it so it's really easy, like it's Amazon, one-click order. When they're in a big organization, that's going to be really important. So I think it's going to be about removing friction in all the medium-sized, large-sized businesses, so that it's just like it's streamlined, so it's really easy. The small stuff, it's going to be the small stuff, which is fine. Yeah. The other thing is, you guys got competition. We have competition. I can't tell you how many times while you were going, what I'm telling. Remember how many introductions VCs are like them. Oh well, we think fictive's better, or we think blah 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 is better, or we think blah blah blah. There is a lot of competition. Guess what? That's great, because it's validating that you're doing something important. There's other money being poured in. I'll tell you, I've looked at all of them. I've looked at the details, and you guys are the best. But you got to stay that way. And the only way to do it is keep pushing yourselves. That's why you're here, not because you're looking at them. They may have more money, but trust me, they're not as smart. And you're going to have a ton of money now, too, so it's all good. But my point is, competition is coming because it is valuable. People see what you have and they want it, right? I can't tell you how many meetings I've had with 3D systems, like, oh, yeah, we're going to do that, screw them, blah, blah, blah. Well, we know where they are, which is nowhere, and sooner or later they're going to need to work with us. And I'll make sure that I'll try the best I can to make that happen. But my point is that you do have competition. The stakes are getting higher and higher. And that's only because you're doing something valuable. So we're going to have to do more and more to keep customers sticky with us. What are we doing? It's great with all the software tools we're doing, with the AI machine learning stuff for part checking. Well, we're going to need to do more and more to keep people inside our environment and not want to go out. So the minute someone else has a different printer and you don't have that printer on, that might be an issue. It's not just the feature set. It's going to be what other capabilities. Remember, if they can get a superhero skill over here and you don't have it, that's going to be a problem. You should always be the one who's debuting, just like Apple did. Doesn't do it now. Was always the first with certain technologies or certain things. You need to be on that cutting edge as well, because it's really not heavy lifting for you. It's a lot of marketing though, and it's good stuff to attract people, right? And you want the geeks of the world, in this world, to talk about you, right? Oh my God, look at this cool thing. So you have competition. You're going to need to make sure that you're always in the forefront. And you had to make people salivate, engineers and designers salivate, that I got to work with them because. All right? So hopefully that answers your question.
Yep.
Another manufacturing question for Agatha.
Yeah. So how did you approach product development at Nest, and did it change as you were growing?
Let's see. The answer to the second part is, of course, it changed as we were growing. I think the core to the approach was there's always another layer of detail when you're unpeeling the infinite onion. And if each of you is the person who wants to peel back that next layer, that's you're doing good product development. Because remember that you're the people, the industrial designers, the mechanical engineers who are out there depending on what you do, they're peeling back their own onions. And if you haven't, like, if you're not ahead of them in layers, then they're going to end up disappointed. And so I think we did, there's these cliche phrases like God is in the details or the devil is in the details. And really, it's us who are in the details. That doesn't mean you don't keep the big picture in sight. Your colleagues will help you do that, right? Because they have other responsibilities. They have a schedule. They have a boss, right? But if each of the people you work with in that product development team is really for their area, they have a response, and that response can be, I don't know, and I've been thinking about that. Do you have an idea? Or, oh yeah, I looked at that. We don't have to worry about it. Here's why. Then there's also we did at Nest, we did a lot of iterative review where maybe we work on a bunch of user interface together within the team, maybe show it to a product marketing person for a while, and then have a product review with Tony a week later, where we had a little bit of time to digest what were the problems, maybe a weekend to sleep on the things that were weak, and come to the product review, the feature review, with questions. Like, we don't know about this. Here are a couple possibilities. We're not sure which to choose. You haven't seen this before, so can you, who needs to
Piss me off.
I mean,
I was always the last guy to see
yeah,
it.
and you never let him hold the slide controller because he'll flip his head. And also never bring out the physical stuff at the beginning of the meeting. Always wait till the end. Those are just some
Toys.
But I think that balance of attention to detail and then this sort of cascading exposure to other viewpoints. And I promise you that there is a person who has a really different job from each of you who has a valuable opinion about the work that you're doing today and can help you resolve the problem, because that's how good organizations are. The other people are interested in the whole process. And you don't let them hold the brush, but you can let them make comments. Even if it's the boss.
One thing that did happen in our over the course of whatever it was 6 years that I was there, we went from a very lightweight team in a garage, and we were outsourcing everything. We had third parties doing it, to we brought in certain things over time, and at the end, because for a lot of reasons, like we were buying 3D printers and all of this stuff. I wouldn't have done that now. I would have not done any of that now. But we didn't have this capability then. So the only thing I would say is you got to worry about how you're going to treat confidentiality of the models, of the parts, to make sure they're not going to go up on the web. There's no photos, because you're going to lose some customers over that too. So that's another thing that you're going to need to figure out, because that was another reason why we had to bring a lot of that stuff in-house, because everybody was too worried about
IP.
IP and confidentiality. But it can totally be done, but you got to make sure that your box just doesn't have fulfilled by 3D hubs, but it also means you've and you made sure that the quality is right, but also the confidentiality or whatever else is there. And you also don't want them exposing the pricing for parts in case people or competitors want to know, or like about a specific thing. Obviously there's a range of prices and stuff, but you got to worry about that as you get into more and more customers, because they're going to care about it, especially with China.
Yeah,
Not that you're going to be in China.
Be careful with physical stuff. One night I woke up about 2 in the morning, and I thought, where the heck is that smoke detector, which we hadn't announced, we hadn't released. I had a prototype. I thought I put it in my bag. Not in my bag. Get on the scooter, go 20 minutes to work. I'm ready to call. I was going to start with the co-founder before I called Tony. And I thought, okay, I'll look at my schedule, retrace my steps for the day. And I spent an hour going around the office, and it had slipped off of my desk chair and was sitting sort of next to the desk. And for me, it was a great learning experience. I hope it is for you too. Don't lose confidential models. Just be careful. If you don't need to bring it somewhere, just don't.
Or if you don't need to show it somewhere,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you got to worry about, because I hear you guys show each other the model of the week or whatever. You got to worry about
Yeah,
that
just
stuff. And no social postings and all that
yeah,
stuff.
just be careful because everyone's a photographer, everyone's a videographer, and it's really easy to forget stuff, even if you're a responsible person.
Yours was an easy story.
Oh,
You forgot when I lost the iPhone on a plane before the iPhone was born. Talk about it. I didn't think I was going to live another 12 hours. That was a whole other story. But yeah. So anyways.
Yeah. Next up, product and design. So, yeah, question about whether you believe more in agile development, so build, measure, learn, release quickly, incremental, but show what you're doing to the competition, versus building a big feature in-house, refine it, take 6 months, 12 months, and then just blow everybody away with something amazing.
Okay. So you collectively are going to need marketing events to happen. You're going to need marketing events as the company goes each quarter to keep you relevant in the press so you get free marketing. You want more and more free marketing, okay? The way we would normally do it, especially in a software world, because you don't have, you might have a new capability that comes once a year, right? Some huge new capability. And yes, that's going to take time because version 1.0, you got to bring out the right, and then you launch it. Then from there, you have bug fixes for that, and then major feature releases on top of that one feature, right? Like version 1.5 or version 2.0 of that. You need to do hot bug fixes and all that stuff, and you got to get them out as fast as possible. Then there's another set of features, which is just general capability. That's not a major feature, but it's a dot release or something like that. You need to, my opinion is you need to bundle them up every quarter. You bundle them up and you make it a marketing story. Because if you just trickle these out, features. If you just trickle them out, no one's going to care. Everyone's like, yeah, and then the media's not going to pick it up. Everyone's like, oh yeah, they have this now. And no one's going to be, even your customers are not going to be able to track it because you're going to have all these little incremental things. So bug fixes right away, of course, unless feature enhancements, bundle them together a quarter, and major releases every 6 or 12 months or whatever your schedule is, but make sure you're always making a media event. Not the bugs, obviously. But make sure they're media event and make sure you're activating your marketing to say, okay, now we have these 10 new features and boom, and this is what they're for with the right messaging. So that you treat it like a product launch. A bundle of these things like a major product launch with, and then the major features. If you can do that, then you're more likely to get press and you have for an activation than just blah. You know, you just blah that out every week. It feels good for you, but it's not what the company needs to really drive the market and get you more free marketing, right? So that's how I would do it, and that's how we counsel all of our companies in this kind of more software only oriented world.
Nice.
Okay.
Then there's a question from Elsa on user research. Yeah.
So it's about user research. How much do you value user research in product development?
That is a good question for the two of us.
So first of all, I get insights from customers about what their problems are, but I don't ask them for the solution. I get insights. We come up with the solution, and then I test it and say, okay, that's right. I only ask people when they purchased it what their experience was. Only after they spent their money, because they have a very different opinion about things when they spend their money versus getting it for free or when you just ask them randomly. Okay? So you can ask them randomly, you make a great product, you ship it, and then people who buy it then ask them and get NPS, right? How likely are you to, and then find out what your top detractors are and go after those top detractors, right? Because you're not going to get 1.0 right for that major new thing and go fix those really fast. So customer insights before, not solutions, don't ask them. Then real customers, feedback on what's negative, what's positive, help, maybe some of it's marketing, some of it might be documentation, some might be actual feature sets or UI, and then work on those. But don't always be driven by the customer. You should always be driving, but getting their insights when it makes sense in the right context. Okay. What is that?
No, I think that's right. So there's market assessment and research. There's consumer research, which is really quite different, what people actually say, but a lot of that is just noise. So focus a lot on understanding the problem, and then look at competitive research, look at competitive products, try them out, to know what solutions are working and what aren't. It's hard before you release a feature to get really valuable insights from a consumer. So you better be good at designing and engineering the product, because you're going to have to go with you get paid to do this stuff. You should really be controlling it. But the information is invaluable, and you should never be afraid of the information, even if you disregard it. Like if a competitor does it one way, and it's good as a researcher to say, this is how the competitor does it. I don't think it's working really well, or I think it's working great. That's
You
really,
should have secret shoppers that go and work with each of them and go figure out what they're doing and figure out what you might not be doing right or what you're doing right, and then amplify that, especially in your marketing or whatever it is, so that you should have kill sheets on every single one of your competitors. You better have really great kill sheets. If you guys know what kill sheets are, yes? Who knows what a kill sheet is? Anyone? A few people do. Well, everybody should know what that is. That means what are the top pros those guys have and what are the top cons they have. And you should know those things every day. And everybody should understand what they are so you can go and target them, right? Because this is war. Sorry. I know you're all friendly Dutch people, or some of you are Dutch, a lot of Swedes here. They're friendly too. But no, my point is, this is war. You got to treat it as war and take it really seriously. And you got to attack in a positive way.
Yeah, it doesn't mean breaking in.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't go hacking it. Don't be Uber. Don't be Uber.
Just don't. It'll come back and
or
bite you,
Facebook.
and you'll never work again. So.
Okay, but yeah, no. Seriously, you gotta really marshal it and take it seriously. And the paranoid survive.
So are you speaking about from experience with the breaking part?
Yes, with the Swedes.
That's right.
Not kidding. I did. It actually happened during iPhone.
Right.
Yep.
A big picture question. So, what do you think is going to happen between the U.S., China, trade war, manufacturing, and maybe even make it more interesting? What role will or should Europe play, and how can we be smart about that?
The trade war is not going away. It's going to be around for decades to come. The thing we have to realize is we're now all waking up. Some of us knew it a decade ago or 2 decades ago. Look, at the end of the day, what we call stealing, they call sharing. Their culture is all about society. Our culture is all about the individual. Okay? These are fundamental things that are not going to go away between China and the rest of the world, for the most part, unless you're in North Korea or somewhere else, okay, where you're not servicing any of us. These fundamental societal things and the way people think are not going away. And they're only going to get stronger because the government in China is being able to program these people, right? What are the best robots? And people are like, they're too worried about machine learning and, oh my God, AI is going to take over my job. The best robots and machine learning in the world is deprogrammed humans. Okay, they're better. They feed themselves. They can take care of this. They don't break as much, right? So my point is they're getting programmed, okay? You can see what's happening with Huawei. I don't know if you saw it, but there's an article that just came about how Huawei was targeting Apple to steal their secrets, okay? This is not going away. This trade war is going to continue for decades to come. We have a whole different way of thinking than they do, all right? So that said, your services and what you guys provide here are more valuable than ever because people are going to be looking for advanced manufacturing capabilities outside of China. China is not going to be the maker of the world in 10 years or 20 years. Okay, it's going to be a very different thing. They're going to have to reinvent, these manufacturers or these product people are going to have to reinvent how they do things because they're not going to be able to go to China as often. They're going to be working with companies like yours to be able to do what they do today that they were able to outsource to China. Okay, so one person's opinion, but I'm somewhat informed given what I've seen. You know, when I started my career, I started going to Japan in the 90s. Then I went to Korea in the later 90s. Then I started going to Taiwan in the late 90s, and then I started going to China. And the same thing happens everywhere. They take your stuff, they steal it, and then they own it, and then they come and compete with you every single time. The difference is those other countries are small. China is not. And all the companies I've looked at investing in everything, it is 10x the US. Like literally, it is crazy. When they step on just a little bit of growth, it's like hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, billions of dollars in revenue, literally in months, because everybody flocks to it. They are really, really powerful, okay? And the governments, everyone's going to be pulling back away from working with them, from what I can tell, right? I don't know, anything else? Okay.
Next topic, patents, IP, security, that kind of fun stuff. Rob had a good question.
Yeah, I was wondering, we're a startup. We're obviously optimized for iteration speed, so we want to get stuff as fast as possible out the door. But on the other hand, we got conservative engineering clients that want ISO certifications, AS certifications, IBER compliance, all that stuff. So how are we going to balance the two? So basically, right now, for example, most people have access to our full data warehouse, for example. Do we need to limit this stuff?
Oh, you mean internal security kind of
internal
stuff?
security.
Oh yeah, that definitely happened.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead and take rational steps that keep the information secure, so there's traceability without getting in the way of people's work. You don't want, it would be a shame for you to, on a Friday night when you feel like getting something done, not be able to get into your part of the data.
Yeah.
That's super important. The keeping stuff inside the company is even more important, and that's everyone's responsibility. I talked about physical stuff before, but it's the same with customers you get, management changes, new software features. Talk about that with your colleagues in private. You don't have to talk about it at the cafe.
And data access, certain people are not going to be able to have access to everything. Like sales shouldn't have access to all the, some people might have certain segments and they can't have access to other customers' stuff. And so you're going to have to come up with what you think is the right thing for your customers and what they need. You know, you're not going to necessarily be doing top secret military projects, I don't think, right? But there's a level below that you're going to need to have certain kinds of security, both physical as well as data security, and that goes all the way down to your laptops and your homes and all that stuff. So you're going to have to think about what's the right thing, so that, because you're going to have employees that come and go. Not everyone's going to be here for the rest of their life. So what do they walk out the door with? What you're going to have contract. You're going to have different things. So you're going to have to really think a lot about that, and to strike the right balance between convenience and security. There's no good answer.
And then on the sort of IP front, which I think was part of the question, the filing patents increases the value of 3D hubs. If you as an engineer, as a marketing person, see an idea within the company and it looks non-obvious and implementable by someone else.
And hopefully fundamental.
And the best ones are fundamental, but trivial patents can be valuable. That you're increasing the value of the company, and that's really important. And it also gives you recourse when someone has stolen something. It's not okay to pick up a model that you happen to leave on the table at the restaurant and then bring it back to your competitor's company and sell it to them. That's stealing. It's illegal.
Not in China.
Just don't bring those to restaurants in China. Just bring it to a nice Indonesian restaurant here in Amsterdam. But it's not okay. And the trade secret and IP protection are good defenses against those kinds of external attacks.
And how do we make sure we don't slow down too much because of
just listen to each other. If it's getting in someone's way, the process is broken and needs repaired. Look, if it really gets in your way and you can't get your work done because you don't have access to the
maybe you shouldn't have access to it.
Yeah, maybe there's a reason. Right? So, but talk to someone.
The other thing on patents is you really need to engineer. So we had a little patent council which was between business and all the others. So, because you might have a lot of ideas. We always made it really important for people to get their ideas in, and we'd pay people for their ideas and stuff. And we'd have a patent person on site who would go around to each person, go, what do you got here? What do you got? You got an idea? Submit your idea. We'd give them some money if we were to go to a patent kind of thing. But we would also architect it, because not all patents were going to be filed because they're expensive. But we would make sure we had different layers of the solution patented, all the way out to design patents of UI and kinds of that thing. So you got to really architect all the way from the core and out and get patents along the full value chain of what you provide, and not just, you know, random things, because that's not as valuable. Okay.
Nice. Maybe last topic, because we're almost at 6. So software engineering. We're going to scale the team. A bigger engineering team is not always a more effective team. Any?
It's never more efficient.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's more effective because the effect is better.
Any recommendations on how to scale on the software engineering side?
Well,
No, you have to.
Yeah.
First thing is, usually you don't need as many people as everyone thinks they need. Okay, so you intentionally run a little leaner. You always run a little leaner, because it makes force you to make better decisions. So you don't want to add lots of people so you can do everything, because doing everything usually ends up bleh, because you only have so much time to make sure you get things right, even though you have more hands to do stuff. So you got to make sure it's not just adding software engineers, but do we have enough marketing people and sales people for the new features, and the right marketing communications and messaging for those new features, and customer support or quality assurance for those things, right? So you got to make sure that when you add over here, you're probably going to have to add to other places. Okay, that's one thing. The other one is make sure that you have a really good idea of the smaller teams and how and you have project management around them. You got to really project manage, because not every single engineer is going to be able to be project managed. You're going to have lots of different things going on. The other one is all software engineers should be writing their own QA stuff. You shouldn't have a full QA team for it. You need to have each coder should be responsible for their code quality. Obviously, you need to have integration quality, but everybody should have that, and use more and more tools and processes instead of just always throwing more people at it as well.
There's use your interns too. Is anyone in here?
Yeah, interns. Oh, that's
so use your interns. Interns are great resources. They don't add to headcount. They're often super motivated people,
and they want to learn, and they don't have bad habits.
And interns are
coding habits.
Yeah, interns are
or whatever.
Yeah, don't be afraid of giving hard projects to interns.
So yeah, a couple of things. So that's a great topic. So on hiring, I always made sure that we had, like if a team was going to grow by 5 people, 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 of those people were new grads. You couldn't just go and say, I need experienced people for every single one. You were going to run out of experienced people. You're going to have to learn, when you're a manager, you have to train and mentor people to get them better. You can't just assume everyone's going to be expert and experienced, because you're not going to find them, nor can you afford them all. So you have to get great new talent. So first thing is make sure you get new hires that are fresh grads or just a year or 2 out of school, okay? And make sure that you target certain positions for those. But what's the best way to find those new grads is by having a robust intern program that each summer we actually ran around. Our intern ran around the intern program ran around the clock, around the calendar,
And the clock.
And the clock. And what would happen is we would make sure there's interns even in marketing, interns in sales, not just engineering or certain things. We had interns everywhere, so that we could find the best people from that set, and they would become the new grads to fill those positions. So you got to have a very robust intern thing and new grad hires, because if not, this is just like life. We're all going to get older, okay? And if you don't have the next young set of young people coming in, you know what happens. That was what happened to Philips Electronics. I worked there for 4 years, okay? It just got old. They never hired anybody young, and so therefore, as you get older, no young person wants to come and work out with just old people. They're just not as much fun. me. That's me. I'm talking about me. You guys are still fun. But one day you're not. You're going to get older, and you're not going to be as much fun for a 20-something as you were. So my point is the world gets. You're going to get older. Your culture is going to get older. You need to keep filling it with new talent. Okay, and that's through getting them through interns, through new grads, to new hires. Okay, so that's just how it goes. The best companies, we at Nest, our oldest employee was 73. Our youngest employee, full-time employee, I think was 19 or 20, 18 or 19. And then we still had a whole set of interns. We made sure we had the whole range of people, women and men, obviously, it's true, but the whole range of ages, because there's so many things the young people can learn from the older people. Like Ed's the 73-year-old. He loved to mentor all the young people and teach them, right? Because he was all he does is write machine code, right? Like he was at the Xerox Park, right? And all kinds of, what was his name? Eric Schmidt was his intern.
Yes.
Eric Schmidt was his intern. So just think about that in your culture as you grow, because you're going to be around a long time. You got to make sure that you can't just go, I need a 7-year experience, blah, 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 Python coder. You just, sorry, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah, people are,
Really?
your colleagues
Just put that line.
they're not stupid because they're 20, right? That doesn't hold together. They're smart, and they probably have better functioning brains than the 40-year-old. And so take advantage of it.
And the reason why we're here is because we're not investors. We're mentors with money. So we say, we give you money to hire us because we want to take all of our knowledge and help you grow and to be great entrepreneurs and grow up great companies, right? So we're just trying to give back to the people who gave. We're only sitting here because we had an amazing team in Silicon Valley of the Mac team, the original Mac team, and beyond that, who educated us on all of this stuff. So we're here to educate you and try to pass this along, this knowledge of what we've learned over the years, hard, lots of mistakes, so that you guys stay in the same thing and learn about how to do these things so that you can train the next set in 20 years, right? When you're like, oh, wow, 3D Hubs is the best thing ever in my life. You know, it's not going to be ever, always, but hopefully one day you guys have done so well, you're going to be mentors too. So that's why we're here. Okay? Good?
Cool. Yeah, thanks a lot.
All right.
Nice.
Burning question.
Can I ask one
Yeah,
last question? Really zooming out to top level.
Yeah.
Whenever I meet people that have achieved a profession what you have, I always wonder why. So there's like 3 components to the question. What makes you tick? How do you want to be remembered? And what is your purpose in life?
Great. Okay. What makes me tick? So first, I was retired for 1.5 years. It drove me fucking batty. I was totally crazy. I couldn't, for the first 6 months, I was detoxing. But then the next year, I was crazy, and that's when started Nest, right after that. I learned that I cannot be retired, okay? Many of you are here. I'm sure none of you can be retired, too, when you're in their 40s or whatever the case may be. So 1 is I can't be retired. 2 is I also have a family, and I have, like, kids, and I want to explore the world, and I could do another startup, but I don't want to do another startup. I want to mentor people because that's how I got here. I wouldn't have done it if somebody didn't mentor me. So you have to give back at some point. And now it's my time to give back, but I can now give it back to over 200 companies we've invested in, right? So we try to do this with all of our companies to help them, help all these people. And the legacy is not about the product you make, because whatever we make today is going to be obsolete in 10 years, or, you know, iPod's gone, right? These things they're transitory. Maybe if you're an architect, you see something 100 years later if you do a really great job, or 200 years later, like, you know, much of Amsterdam, right? But in our jobs, what our job is to build cultures and to help people, and so that they can, this culture and this team allows for innovation 20 years, 30 years later. Create the companies with the right cultures about innovation so they can continue to thrive. And so that comes from, you know, our knowledge and what we've done and the experienced people we've worked with. So for me, the legacy is about creating all these companies with people, mentoring them so that it lives on. That's really what it's about. And then the 4th thing is really, if I didn't have a job, I'm a terrible role model for my kids, right? Because if I just sat around, well, that doesn't help them, right? Right now they're probably going, where's Dad? It's dinner. And he's like, oh, he's working. It'd be different, right? They got to remember that in their brain, right? So when they're older, they're going to be working too. So.
Cool.
Is that,
Right.
You want to use that? Okay. All right. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Good.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
Well. Sure. Let's do it. Where should we do it? We have
That
a.
way, probably.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's easier. Well, we just move this way.
Stand up at the same height, yeah.
We just do like this.
I'm gonna wait till you.
All right, come on in. Come on in. Get on in. Come on. Wait. Can you see everybody back there?